North Star. Go down the path that leads to the North Star. Sometimes I am scared. Sometimes I don't know which way is high, which way is low. I feel secure. I feel whole. I feel love as I press toward my goal. Because of my star, my North Star. Go down the path that leads to my North Star. You are my North Star.
Good morning. Really happy to be here with you in our watch parties in our host homes. I know we've got folks out in Hutto at the Gebhardts, folks in Round Rock, Cadisa and Josh's, and really thankful to have you all here. It's our first watch party back from our break in July. And normally at this part of the service, we would have, or you would see a kids sermon, usually and hopefully a lot of times led by one of our Peace kids. It's a lot of fun. But one of the things we want to do and kind of allow for ourselves is some different creative expressions in this time. And so there's other things that you may see during this time and watch parties, and still we'll see a kids sermon here and there. Today what we're doing is a communion meditation. I don't know necessarily that it's a meditation. It was not real long, but I don't remember where we were having this conversation or who was having this conversation with. But we had talked about this idea that during the pandemic lockdowns, when we were fully online for all of our services and everything, that we were always we did always have the communion element in our services every Sunday, and the unique items and elements that people would bring, and and we would always invite people who were participating in the stream to kind of show us what they had, or for people to comment into the chat what they had. There was all kinds of stuff. Someone might have a walnut, someone might have coffee. I know at least on one occasion someone might have had some whiskey. A little bit of a libation. That's great. And so all kinds of fun, unique things. And so we wanted to kind of bring that moment back a little bit, particularly here in this first time we're bringing the communion element back into the stream service that we do. And so it's certainly not exactly the same. We're gathered more than we were in those times, and I don't know, maybe you knew about this and you did bring your own elements, but you are a little bit kind of confined to what's there. Maybe that's some bacon and orange juice or whatever the case may be. But there was a real connection that brought to us in this time where we had to be separated, knowing that we were participating in communion, in that ritual together, knowing that everybody else was doing it in their home, and that there were people all around the world participating in communion, in the Eucharist, in the Lord's Supper, kind of some different terminology there. There was a sense of community even when we were separated. And so in in that moment of communion when we're together in person, it's always a really unique moment. We want people to see and understand that it is for everybody. That's one of the really wonderful things about communion is it's offered to and for everybody. Nobody is excluded. And so when we couldn't be together, we could invite not only other people in our home, but other people that we knew into that with us. And so I want you to kind of consider that today as we participate in the communion, that we get the chance, the opportunity to invite people into communion with God, into this symbolic meal that we have, into that community. And so my bread that I have today is some cotton candy. I did steal this from one of my children, so I'm so sorry, Harper. So I've got this with me here. I love cotton candy. It's one of my very favorite things that I have ever. So I'll give you a moment or two to kind of find your elements there where you are. So like I said, I've got cotton candy here in this fresh, crisp, plain sparkling water. I know plain sparkling water is not for everybody. I love it. I also like a good plain, lightly salted rice cake. So judge me, whatever. So grab your elements, your bread and your wine, as it were, and join with me as for our communion liturgy. And we say, God is within you, and God is also within you. Lift up your hearts. We join in the beloved community. Let us give thanks for the blessing of life. Together we raise our voices in gratitude. Got to thank you for the opportunity to come and to bring this really beloved element of our pandemic lockdown services back into this moment. And my hope is that we find a little bit of joy and even some nostalgia for a time that was so difficult for so many. So as we participate together in these smaller groups that maybe on a normal in-person Sunday morning for us, that we really relish that idea of community together. Amen. Great is the mystery of faith. Christ has reimagined death, and we join him in bringing heaven to earth. So good. All right, well, I am going to move things along. We'll have our short homily from Sarah O'Brien coming up in just a moment, and you'll move on to some questions. So I hope you have a wonderful day. I can't wait to see you all again in person next.
I'm excited to be joining you this morning, and I have to admit that I feel like a little bit of a hypocrite while recording this because I don't attend all that many watch parties, and yet here I am. I am going to say on record here with all these witnesses that no matter how far in advance someone asks me to lead something in August from now on, in this case, David asked me 2.5 months ahead of time. Plenty of time. But from now on, my answer is no. August is a no-go because today is the Friday of the first week of school, and it is about, 16-ish hours before David said it was the last possible moment that I could send him this video. Okay, so from now on, September, fine. August, no. Got it. Y'all, it's been a long week. I'm just going to jump right in. There's something that you might or might not know about me, and that is I am not a crier. As a matter of fact, some of my best friends are probably watching this, and though I've known them for years, they might be like, yeah, I can't remember the last time I saw her cry. Yeah, I'm just not a crier. Is there something wrong with me? My tear ducts are broken. I'm not trying to hold it in. I find it cathartic most times, but it just doesn't come easily to me. You see, I bring this up because I have cried more in the last couple of weeks than I have in a while. I went back to school about 2.5 weeks ago, and that day I was in the back of the library just weeping. And that night, when I got home after the first leadership meeting, I just bawled. And then I kind of got it together and I started sobbing like uncontrollable, like blubbering, messy, just can't catch your breath tears. And it took me hours and many tricks and tools that I possess until I finally started to calm down enough that I could like write out everything that was in my brain. Um, and finally, my tears started kind of end, slow trickle. I got it all out. I'm not a crier by nature, but I can get very emotional about my job. As many of you know, and I've spoken about a lot recently, I am a public school teacher. I have always gotten emotional about my job. And I think it's because I pour so much of myself into it. Um, like a lot of teachers, this has been at the expense of my own self interest, of my finances, and many times at the expense of my family. Um, they don't get the best of me often. Outside of that, like flash that is summer vacation, they get the leftovers after a long, overstimulating, exhausting day. And many of you, myself included, and I'm sure my family included as well, might ask, why would you do something that sounds, well, bad? And I don't have an answer. I do know that this year feels particularly more difficult. It feels burdened and heavy and weighed down. And y'all, it has only been 72 hours. It's going to be a long year. For years, I thought I stuck with education out of stubbornness or some sense of duty. Um, you see, every single aptitude test I took um, has pointed that teaching should be my career path. I started taking education classes in college. I got not even halfway through them. And then I kind of realized like, America's doing this wrong. Like, this is kind of dumb. I don't agree with this. Um, but oh well, I'm already here and I'm not wasting these absolutely useless, if you move to any other major education hours. And now I have a BA in art education to show for it. So, yeah, that's fun. Um, I really don't think that I've stuck with it out of stubbornness, though. Um, you see, and this feels gross saying, I don't want to say this, but I'm gonna anyway, because I do believe this is true. I think that I am the kind of teacher that many of you would love for your own children to have. Um, I do not say this to be boastful. I can't even receive a compliment without making it awkward. So that's not it. Um, what makes me good at my job and what makes me emotional about my job is that I really love these kids. I even love those kids. Truth be known, those kids, um, they're usually some of my favorites. I thrive in figuring out how to connect with the weirdos and the problem kids. I love a good high five, a hug, a fist bump. I search during my day for the kids who are having off days, just so that I can make sure that they know that I see them and that I am there if they need to talk. I love it. A few weeks ago, something changed for me though. On July 23rd, when I went to this leadership retreat, we talked about a lot of things that made me sad. We talked about how since the price of our healthcare benefits in the LISD went up, that the very small raise that we actually got isn't really a raise, and that how a lot of people in our district, librarians included, did not get that raise at all. So they're actually making less money than they did last year. We also talked about how my school's getting a marshal this year. Y'all, they're 5 to 10, and we're getting a marshal. We started then, then we started talking about all this Texas legislation. A lot of it's going into effect this year and next. And there's too many of them to name, but some of the topics are restricting books, squashing any freedoms that the LGBTQ plus students have, from gathering on campus to the use of nicknames and pronouns. Also, restrictions of clubs in general, restricting school nurses from nursing, the 10 Commandments, and really tying teachers and counselors' hands so that we cannot teach social emotional learning, a subject which we were begged to teach more of 5 years ago when COVID hit. Like, how quickly we forget. And that day, July 23rd, is the day I really feel like I lost my religion. Not my faith, mind you, but my religion, definitely. We continued this meeting that day. We talked through a plethora of the not thought through legislation, and several of the teachers and other administrators that I was in the room with, they spoke up and they spoke out against the legislation. And many of them started their thought by saying, well, I'm a Christian, but I'm not that kind of Christian. But I believe in the separation of church and state. But I don't believe ... Previously, I'm sure that I would have added that caveat when explaining my relationship with my own religion. But today, I do not feel like I can claim to be a Christian, something that the lawmakers who pass these bills use as a badge that certainly they are not emulating. I don't need a name for it, but I know my understanding of being a follower of Christ is far from these evil, self-serving, malicious men and women, that I simply don't want to be in the same category as them. I think those Christians are wrong. But I am happy to be thought of as other by them or anyone else if it means not putting a caveat, not having to put a caveat at the end of my religion so that people don't wonder where I stand when I say Christian. So I won't. Instead, I will say this: I am a believer. Here is some things I believe in. I believe in ghosts. I believe in myself. I believe in the power of nature to heal. I believe in the value of hard work. I believe in a thing called love. Just listen to the rhythm of my heart. Sorry, had to. Big fan of The Darkness. I believe in critical thinking. I believe that my kids are going to grow up to be awesome humans. I believe in aliens. I believe that the world needs what you and I have to offer. I believe that the finale of Lost was trash. I believe that purity culture ruins lives. I believe in magic of all kinds. I believe in the beauty of diversity. I believe that Donald Trump should be in prison. I think that I believe that most religions are talking about the same creator God, even if it takes like multiple names to explain it. But that belief is still kind of forming, and I don't know how to best articulate it. I believe that the book is better than the movie. Hard stop. I believe in overwhelming power of love, positivity, kindness, and acceptance. I believe that people are doing the best they can with what they have. I believe that sometimes you need to have dessert before dinner, and sometimes you need to have dessert for dinner. I believe that some people take their religion too seriously because there is no way that the creator of all living things came up with the platypus, the the geoduck, and a proboscis monkey, and that creator doesn't have just like an amazing sense of humor, okay? I believe in humanity's ability to overcome. I believe that Jesus lived on this earth, died for my sins, and then came back to life. I don't mourn the loss of Christian as a descriptor next to my name. I have grown and changed over the years, and I feel that I have learned enough that I do not feel threatened by this loss. And I know that God I believe in does not feel threatened by me learning and growing and figuring out my beliefs every day. Lastly, I believe in this church. I believe that Peace of Christ is different. I believe in the spaces and in the community and in the love that we have built together. I believe that this church has changed my life for the better, and maybe yours too. That it has forced me to acknowledge perspectives that I hadn't thought of, and that we as a collective group are for good. Now, you probably have some questions to answer and discuss now, and I have a 16-year-old to go celebrate today, so I look forward to seeing y'all next week in person. Go in peace for peace.